LeBron James all the way in.
And here comes Simmons the other way, 3-on-2. Simmons eludes the defender and lays it in with that.
Certainly the length altered that shot. Out of the quick steps and crunches.
Play right there. Porzingis from Jennings. Throw down and a foul.
Irving, splits the defense with the dribble.
All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. We got a little bit of NBA news and rumors. This is just little small segments that we'll discuss, maybe, 30 seconds. So Anthony Davis, day-to-day with a groin injury. So the MRI was negative on it, but, it's going to be day-to-day. Mm-hmm. He suffered that groin injury, as I keep, repeating it now. Mm-hmm. Will it affect Pelicans from doing really anything?
It's not really changing shit for them.
Yeah,
they're probably just going to win every other game. I mean, that's the Pelicans.
Yeah, Boogie Cousins will hold down the fort for them. They'll probably give more space for Boogie.
Probably.
So, Boogie should be on a very good point streak, at least in this little day-to-day for Anthony Davis, who's not probably going to be playing anytime soon. Let's move on. Kyle Anderson suffered a strained MCL. It's going to be a little bit harder now for the Spurs. They lost Kawhi. Now they're losing him. Mm-hmm. Hopefully Kawhi comes back. Kyle Anderson, a very underrated player, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really value him as much, but I think he's probably one of the key, not a key player, but he's one of those role players that's very good for the Spurs.
Yeah, 100%.
Just a little bit of a loss, but won't affect him too much. They lost to the Thunder. That's where he got hurt.
Yeah.
So, it sucks for them, but
I agree with you. That sucks for the Spurs, but they're still going to win.
Yes, it's the Spurs.
They have Popovich.
Popovich will even play, honestly.
Yeah, play him on. He'll probably get buckets for sure.
We also have a little bit of update on the Derrick Rose saga. Apparently, he's now reports back to the Cavaliers, and he will be doing his treatments and all that other stuff.
I like it. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he heeded our advice. I'm sure he has no idea who we are. I guarantee you he has no idea who we are. So
yeah, but I'm just glad he decided to come back. It would kind of suck to leave on that note. Mm-hmm. Not on his terms.
Yeah. I did like LeBron's response to him coming back. I thought it was pretty classy. He said that, Derrick Rose doesn't owe us any explanations, which I think is a pretty classy move by LeBron. I like that.
Moving on, we have Rudy Gobert, probably going to be returning Monday, which is today.
That's sooner than people thought, right?
Yeah, from his knee injury, so...
Good for him.
Yeah,
makes them a much better team.
Makes them a much better team. Derek Favors, talk about him a little bit. Right now, we haven't really talked about him at all on the podcast, but Derek Favors in place for Rudy Gobert hasn't been playing too bad. No. This is a free agent year for him. The Jazz and him haven't had contract talks and extensions for him, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there with them. But Rudy Gobert should make him a very good team defensively.
Yeah.
Not that they needed any help with that because Donovan Mitchell's been on fire. Donovan Mitchell had a 40-point game, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
For a guy that from Louisville that didn't really get much of a shout from NBA draft scouts and other experts.
I like Donovan Mitchell. He's growing on me.
Yeah.
I gave him some grief for his inefficiency on the offensive side of the ball a couple weeks ago. I like him. Honestly, I like the way he plays.
Yeah, good kid.
He does have to take a lot more shots than he should. For a rookie, but it's good for him. He's putting up big numbers.
It's kind of like the same thing with Dennis Smith in Dallas, where he also has to take a lot of shots.
Yeah.
But his team is not nearly as good as the Jazz.
No.
So
but it's just based on the offensive capabilities of the Jazz. They don't really have much. So
for the Jazz, it's either Rodney Hood or Donovan Mitchell, really.
And sometimes Ricky Rubio,
depending on how he does.
Yes.
But that's it for that type of news. For that, we're going to move on a little bit to Joel Embiid. Just a little bit of news on him because he's one of our dudes. He will be making an additional $32 million if he gets an All-NBA first team.
I think he might.
He's on the path right now if he continues this kind of hot streak. A type of thing I was curious about, though, is since he doesn't play every day and doesn't play on a back-to-back, will that affect him getting that award?
It'll definitely affect it, but I think he still has a really good chance to do it regardless, just based on his insane numbers that he puts up every game he plays. I think he's got a pretty good shout to do it. really. Because let's think, he's got to beat the other centers, right? So who does he have to go over? He has to.
I mean, there's not really any. I mean, Andre Drummond's having a good season. DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, I think DeMarcus Cousins might be his biggest competition.
Yeah, him. Maybe Anthony Davis, because I know they like to do like him as a center as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it all depends on like what. Because I know for forwards they'll probably go, okay, we'll do 2 small forwards and not a power forward.
Jokic too. Can't forget about him.
I mean, he has a very good shot to do it.
He does.
That's what I'll say.
I hope he does it too.
He should be able to. I think he's one of those guys that should be able to.
Get that money, young man.
Other news, just people leading the NBA in PER. Player efficiency rating, we have LeBron James at 31.3, Giannis at 31.2, and then James Harden at 30.8. So those are your 3 players in the 30 PER club.
I don't like PER.
It's a very skewed stat, I will say that.
It's a very skewed stat. I mean, honestly, James Harden should probably be number 1 on there. I mean, LeBron is it's close. Those are probably the top 3 guys. So I guess it's got it right. But at the same time, PER is kind of a stupid stat. I'm not crazy about it.
And then just real quick, we'll talk about a little bit of some, which will lead into your Clippers talk. But let's talk about it first. We have DeAndre Jordan back in the news, back with the trade rumors and speculations, free agency stuff. He hires a new agent, Jeff Schwartz, who's part of XL Sports Management. You know, it's one of those things where he has a $24 million player option, which he will probably decline.
Yeah.
Because he wants more money. You know, we talked about it before. We don't think DeAndre Jordan's really worth that money.
No.
I mean, is it smart for him to decline it?
No. It's not smart just because I don't think he's getting more money than that. Mm-hmm. The only way he gets more money is if he goes to Cleveland, which is also heavily rumored. Like, I think they would probably give him that much money just because they're not sure if they're going to be able to keep LeBron. Mm-hmm. So considering that they could get DeAndre Jordan in return for Tristan Thompson, who's, you know, DeAndre Jordan is a pretty popular player in the NBA. Him, and they would have Isaiah Thomas, you know, presumably they could keep him too. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't think it's a good idea, though, to keep him.
Yeah, I mean...
Or for him to decline that, I should say. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those tough situations where it's like, yeah, he could be good, but how many more years does he have left when he's already 29, 30?
Yeah.
You know, his game is very different than others. His game is based on his jumping ability. His game is also based on just putback dunks and defense. Mm-hmm. And when you get older, you start to slow down a little bit. You don't start to jump as high as you used to.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he does get the money. I mean, I don't think he will.
Yeah. I mean, I think he should stay, and this is why. All right? I'm going to jump into my Clippers prediction that I alluded to a little earlier. I think Doc Rivers is on his way out. I think he's going to be getting the old boot very soon, probably within the next month. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see a coach that just recently got fired get hired in the Los Angeles city limits.
David Fizdale?
Mr. David Fizdale.
Interesting.
I think he's going to be hired by LA. I think he's too good of a coach not to be hired by them. I think another good option, a good shout of somebody who might be hired in the LA County, Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson.
Former Golden State Warriors coach. I think he's going to make a return to the NBA very soon. I think he's also too good of a coach not to be coaching in the NBA. But if my money were on one name, Mr. David Fizdale is going to be coaching in the NBA again very soon.
Ooh.
I honestly think he'll be coaching within the next 2 months, maybe 3 months. But as far as he's concerned, I think LA Clippers it would be a great place to work for a coach like that. I really think they would give him time to start, start something new. And he has pieces. Like, he has some decent pieces. Like, Blake Griffin, you don't like him, but he's got pieces. And he's going to get a pretty good draft pick this year, too.
Yeah.
So, if I was DeAndre Jordan, knowing that Doc Rivers is probably on his way out, I mean, he's kind of getting older, so I could see why he would want to leave. Just he wants to maybe do something and maximize his money at the same time. I could see it, but all hope is not lost for the Clippers because I do think they're in such a desirable place, and the Clippers have kind of brought their name out of the mud in the last decade to the point where they are a desirable location to be at. I think you're going to see David Fizdale, and I really do think he's going to change the culture there, so to say, and I think he's going to make them a much better team. No offense to Doc Rivers, who is a Hall of Fame coach, but he's not doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I will say, though, Doc Rivers, once a Celtic coach, long tenured coach there for the Celtics, won a championship in 2008. But, in LA, it's just been kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
That team in 2010 when they formed, the veto trade for the Lakers when they were supposed to get Chris Paul ended up going to the Clippers. Mm-hmm. A lot of heated.
Suspect.
Very suspect. A lot of heated Laker fans. Mm-hmm. But that team really should have won something.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, at least gone to the finals. I'm not saying you have to win.
They had a good chance, for sure.
They had a good chance in that couple span. This team was supposed to be like Lob City. It was unstoppable.
Yeah.
No one was going to stop it, but it proved to be that they really got in their own way in some ways. I mean, the one year where they should have won against the Rockets, they lost to the Rockets. And it just goes to show you that although Doc Rivers is a good coach, he's just not a good personnel GM guy.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, the years he won the championship, right, with Boston, look at the team he had. Yeah. It's kind of hard not to win with those guys. Mm-hmm. I would almost chalk that up to having an incredible roster more so than his coaching. And I do think he's a great coach, honestly, but there's obvious signs of nepotism with him is the fact that they have Austin Rivers and all that stuff going on,
Yeah. The Austin Rivers thing kind of just baffles me a little bit.
It kind of almost invalidates him as a coach at this point in his career, for me. Like, when you have a guy who's honestly, Austin Rivers is not that good, and he's your starting point guard, and you're doing everything to keep him, and he gets so many minutes compared to people that probably you could have.
And even the fan outrage. Do you see him go at that fan?
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of message is that sending? Especially because, when you are the coach's son, players do look at you different than other players. It's some of those things like, oh, he's getting that treatment. I mean, we even saw Glenn Baby Davis say this on, Fox Sports when he was going on his tour on Fox. Calling him a baby, calling him daddy's boy, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, Austin Rivers fired back, it was all this stuff.
It's time for the era to end.
Yeah.
The Doc Rivers era needs to end, and I think that they have a great alternative coach in the wings that they could get. And they have the money to get David Fizdale. They have the market for him to succeed and the money to spend on players for him to succeed. Yeah. So go get him. He's a great coach. Players love him.
Yeah,
what I've heard. Other than Marc Gasol.
I mean, just think about it. The Steve Ballmer era. Mm-hmm. Now that he's the owner, after I won't even mention the other guy because he's a cuck.
Cucked him.
But Steve Ballmer, coach now. They definitely need to. Steve Ballmer needs to realize, like, hey, look, this is a new era. We need a new coach. We need someone who's very into this new era of basketball. Doc Rivers, I feel like, isn't in there compared to, like, a Fizdale.
Yeah.
Who's been under Eric Spoelstra's wing. On the Heat teams that have won championships. I think he has the right qualifications to be a coach for the Clippers, and I think he would be a very good coach by telling them how, what they need to do, players that he would like to have.
Yeah.
And they also just need to hire a competent GM that knows what players to draft, what players to sign. But, we'll see how it goes.
100%.
And just quickly, before we, get off the Clippers, just a little bit of DeAndre Jordan trade rumors alert. We have the Wizards, the Raptors, the Wolves, and the Bucks interested in trading for DeAndre Jordan.
The Bucks absolutely don't trade for him. Please don't do that. The Wolves, why would you do that? Wizards, I can see it. Raptors, I can see it. Those are the only two teams out of those four that should even consider doing it.
Yeah, because I would not trade Middleton or Brogdon, because I'm pretty sure that's who the Clippers want, are those guards, which I would not trade any of them for. I know they're not really high on Chris Middleton, or like they're okay with letting him go.
Yeah, they should.
But I wouldn't let him go for
Not DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, and then the Wolves, like, what would you even do with him? You know?
I mean, I would rather take Gorgie Dang, their center,
Yeah.
than DeAndre Jordan. I think Gorgie Dang has a higher ceiling than DeAndre Jordan. I just don't get that one. Even the Wizards.
I
man.
don't understand the Timberwolves the most out of all four of those. I honestly don't know why. I don't know why they would do that. I mean, you have Towns. What's the point? You know? I don't understand it. That's a bad trade. Don't do that. The Raptors and the Wizards, I honestly could see both of those teams doing it, though.
Yeah, I feel like the Wizards might be doing it, but if I'm the Wizards, I don't do it either.
I think the Wizards, honestly, that would actually be a pretty good move for them, in my opinion. Like, I think he improves their team, really. Because, Gortat, Marcin Gortat, they have, like, good pick and rolls. He has good pick and rolls with Beal and John Wall. But just imagine you open up a lot of really good windows as far as athleticism and, in the paint, scoring. Because I'm not really big on Marcin, personally. So I think if you have John Wall and Bradley Beal throwing up lobs for DeAndre Jordan, and then, like, you have the ability for them to shoot the three, and, like, there's always the possibility of them throwing up the lob,
Mm-hmm.
It opens up good windows for them. I like that move.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit curious about that one, because if you do take DeAndre Jordan for Marcin Gortat, I feel like you're getting rid of another big man shooter, or someone that could at least shoot the mid-range. And that's something that you don't really have with John Wall. Yeah. He's more of a slasher, more of a closer to the basket, the better his shot percentage is. And the only person that I think that's really good at shooting the ball well is Bradley Beal.
I love Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal's really good, and I love him. He just needs to get a little bit better at the free throw line. I don't know how he's been. I haven't watched him, or at least the Wizards games. I haven't watched them really since the beginning of the season when they play.
Can I make a controversial statement on the podcast right now?
What?
I think Bradley Beal might have, like, the nicest shooting form in the league.
Interesting. Okay.
I really like his shooting form. I think it's so nice. It looks really clean.
I think I'm gonna go with more of Clay.
Clay is all right. Clay might win. All right, I might have already.
I think Clay has the best looking stroke.
It's definitely more classic looking.
More fundamental.
It's more fundamental, but I like Beal's a lot.
Beal's is good, but
I like Beal more and more all the time.
But just going back to the talks, I mean, if you get rid of Gortat, you get rid of someone that could also do a pick and pop.
Yeah.
And with DeAndre Jordan, it's like
he's not really doing.
He's not doing a pick and pop.
But honestly, like.
But I do agree, because of how John Wall is and how Bradley Beal is, fast paced. Mm-hmm. It does suit their team to have someone that also runs the court very well and also can finish lobs compared to Marcin Gortat. But it also depends on what the Wizards have to give up for DeAndre Jordan, because I'm sure the Clippers in their deluded minds are thinking they have to, the Wizards have to give him this, this, and this, and a first round pick, which I'm saying no to.
Yeah, probably not. The one thing I'll say for the Wizards too, other than the fact that I've already given, like, I think he opens up good offensive doors that they didn't have before. I do think at this point the Wizards have no excuse to be struggling the way they are. Mm-hmm. And at this point they should be contending more in the Eastern Conference than they already have. Like, last year they should have contended more. Mm-hmm. This year they really should be contending. Like, no offense to the Celtics, but based on the two teams and how far along they are, the Wizards should be a better team right now. No. On paper, they should be a better team. So if it's not working, you're not getting rid of John Wall and Bradley Beal. Those are your two dudes. Mm-hmm. Something needs to change for you to get better as a team, and I think getting rid of Gortat and getting DeAndre Jordan, if they could do it for a reasonable price, might be the move that they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. They want
something new.
They should be better. maybe it'll work, but it all depends on what they have to give up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I also heard rumors that 76ers might also be interested.
Absolutely don't do that. Oh my God!
But the stuff they'd have to trade is just out of this world. I mean,
ludicrous. Don't do it.
Trading like a guy like Dario Saric, which, hell no.
Any of their players. Don't trade any of them for him. Your team is really good and you're young. You don't need a 33-year-old big man who only does two different things. Don't do it.
I agree. Just don't do it. You know, get him in free agency where he'll probably be a lot cheaper to get.
Yeah.
And won't hit your cap as hard.
Yeah.
But, you know.
The last team I do just quickly want to mention, and this is obviously a big one, Cleveland. If they could get him for a reasonable price, he does I think he would make their team better.
I mean, if you could just, trade him and Tristan Thompson straight up.
If they could do that, that's honestly a pretty good trade.
Yeah, I mean,
he really does add a big element to their game that they don't have. Like a big man who's athletic in the post and can score kind of anyway. Tristan Thompson isn't scoring in the post, No. He's not scoring in the paint. He's not dunking over people, really. Tristan Thompson's a defender, really. That's kind of what he does. A rebounding defender. DeAndre Jordan can do both of those things, and he can score to some extent and catch lobs. So, get him.
Yeah, trade him to L.A. Let him and the Kardashians have their fun in the sun.
Tristan Thompson in L.A. All the, Kardashian men are together. Blake Griffin is there, too.
Yeah.
He's dating a Jenner, right?
I think so.
I think he's dating Kendall?
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't really care. But the family sticks together has a bunch of kids with basketball players together.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was an awful analogy. Next segment.